Welcome in, everyone, to Barely Educated, the podcast by Bears fans, for Bears fans, and we're at barely back. No, we're here. We are here to finally talk about some off-season stuff. It's been a crazy semester. No one cares, right? Everybody's busy, but it's not always easy to coordinate, as longtime listeners know. But we managed to pull this off before the draft, a sort of off-season recap up to now and draft preview episodes such as we can give you one. And as always, I'm Mark, joined by Chris. Chris, how are you?
Hanging in there. As you said, it's been a pretty busy, crazy last couple of months. So
Definitely feel that.
glad to finally get a few minutes to talk some beloved, because I have missed it.
Definitely. And I think the fall semester I always enjoy more than the spring because the bright light of football goes out of my life during the spring.
Yes.
And though I am an off-season enthusiast, it's not the same as the actual season. Especially now that the Bears don't suck.
Correct. They do not.
And I've had a hard time processing this during the off-season.
That
I'm like, why do I not care that much about the draft? Oh, because we're picking 25th, not first and 10th. You know, it's like, yeah, there's a lot less to like think about when you're
yeah.
picking at the end of the first. It's still important, don't get me wrong, but it's like it's been a hot minute since the Bears had a late first round pick, and I am now turning this over to the Bears historian. When did they last pick this late in the first? Because it wasn't after the last successful season. They didn't have a draft pick in the first.
Oh, that's right. Because of the
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 Mac
Mac
trade.
trade.
Is it all the way back to Olsen? Or is there one in 2011 that I'm forgetting? They won the division that
No,
year, right?
2010 they won the division, but
And
that
so in
was
11 they would have picked at the end of the first. Did
yes.
they keep that pick? Was that Kyle Long?
2011.
When did
No,
they? No, Kyle Long was not then.
Kyle Long was 2013, I believe. And then
Yeah, that sounds right.
um oh, who was the really bad end that Phil Emery took? Like
There's Shea McClellan.
Shea McClellan, that's what I was. Would he have been like 2012, 2011?
I don't know.
2012? I don't know.
It's Gabe Karimi.
Gabe Karimi. Okay, that would have
That's
been
the last team they picked about this time.
that would have been the last Jerry Angelo pick then, or somewhere around there. Yeah.
So there you go, Gabe Karimi. Everyone.
Wow.
So just as fans, it's been like bittersweet off season because we've had some major moves and some shakeups of an actually good roster for once,
Yes.
and we're not going to be the 4-time off season champs now. And it's like, all right, that's because they've got some of these things finally figured out. Like we aren't looking for a quarterback in the draft
No, we are not.
for I think a very long time. We aren't in the coaching carousel. If you want to take it all the way back to, the whole offseason, because we basically haven't been able to record, we weren't looking for a new head coach. We weren't doing any of the big stuff.
Yeah. The things that make an off season more exciting, we have not had to worry about. It's a very uncomfortable, weird feeling.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, am I okay? I'm barely covering the draft and or consuming much about it, and I'm just like, well, I don't know what the Bears should do. We'll get to the draft, but let's maybe try to organize this a little more now that we've done our initial sort of rambling introduction. Starting with the playoff loss, you had Ben Johnson immediately saying it's already next year, which is awesome.
Yep.
They're not content. That's one of the problems I think the Bears have had is they get, fat and happy over one successful season, and then they don't have another one for 7 years. I don't think this coach is wired that way. So that was cool. And I don't know that we necessarily have to go exact sequence how everything happened, but at least cover the big stuff as far as I remember it. The major moves are the DJ Moore trade.
Yeah.
and
That was rough.
Drew Dahlman retiring.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere, at least from the fan perspective. Maybe there were inside rumblings and talks in Hallis Hall, but
I mean, I remember seeing where they were talking about scouting centers, and I was like, huh? But
hmm.
now it kind of like hindsight a little bit, I guess, on my part there. The DJ Moore trade was actually pretty brilliant for the Bears.
Yeah, it was. It still was hard. I think because he gave us some all-time Bears moments last year, you know. But yeah, I agree. I agree.
Right. And it's no surprise to longtime listeners that out of the two of us, Chris was like, oh, but the nostalgia. And I'm like, I can't believe they got a second for him with that production and contract. Like I mean, he did give us some all-time great moments. Last year was so much fun. And
Hmm.
DJ was a huge part of that in the moments. But the production did not match the contract, and the roster crunch demanded them to free up some money.
Yeah.
And I don't want him taking targets from Luther and Rome and Loveland, in all honesty, at this point next year. The future is there, like the future is now kind of thing. And I'm just stunned they got a second round pick because of the production and the contract. And then the
Yeah.
Bills had to extend him. But I also love that he gets to go somewhere fun. He's a great bear. He's leaving on good terms. And as you know, my adopt a AFC playoff team every year is the Josh Allens, I mean the Bills. And now there's DJ too. And I love this trade.
Yeah. It worked out well for both parties involved. You're glad that we can send DJ to a contender and another
And the
great
Bears
quarterback.
try
Yeah.
really hard to do that, maybe almost too much, but this is definitely one of the things in the Ryan Poles approach that is he's pretty determined. Like it sounds like lip service, or GM speak, but want to do right by our guys. He really does it though. Like
Yeah.
he got less by almost every account for Fields than he could have because he wanted him to have a chance to start.
Hmm.
He wanted DJ to go to a contender. And yet I don't know that anyone would have beat the second. That was a pretty great trade for the value for the Bears too.
Yeah.
So and then now to Dahlman, that was a kick in the pants because center has been just this black hole for so many years. How many clips have we seen of the Bears center looking like they're completely lost in the last 5 years? How many dancing Sam Mustafer, Max Rustafer, shout out Danny Parkins, dancing bears spinning around. There's the plays where they're all on the ground and the center's like the first one that falls. All the things that former student Tim would
Former
send
student Tim.
in the group text because he's just like, why can't we get a functional center? And then we do.
And
And
he was
then he's
good.
like, I'm out. You're like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. And
Now,
not
I will never begrudge a player choosing health.
I know, I know. You're
With the way this
absolutely right.
sport kills your health, and centers take a as much a pounding really in this physical neck, back, all these kind of things as any position. His dad had played in the league. I get it. I'm not gonna. I don't. I really was disappointed with certain group of fans that were like mad about this and chiding him for quitting, as they would put it. And it's like this is his call. He's got plenty of money and he's
Yep.
choosing his health, and I'm never gonna knock that. That said, I thought the pivot made sense for the Bears. Bradbury's not exciting, but it didn't cost much, and he stabilizes it for now. He did just work with another young QB in Drake May. He's not a world beater. He's not going to make a Pro Bowl like Dahlman, but I don't think he's going to be a complete train wreck like we've seen.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's incumbent then that they pick somewhere in the middle rounds the center to be and give that guy a year under Bradbury, learning the offense, all the things. Because I don't think they have a long-term answer here with Bradbury, but it
Yeah, I don't think
was an
so either.
understandable stopgap. And then the center market went just completely ballistic in free agency, and it was pretty smart of the Bears to get out in front of that with a reasonable contract on a guy with starting experience when, you know, multiple centers are now over 20 a year, and it's like, yeah, I don't want to pay that really.
Yeah.
So that I think they did a nice job with that surprise. But again, they need to draft one. Okay, their other moves were signing Kobe Bryant. He's finally in Chicago, as everyone joked.
Oh no!
Just as that was all over Twitter.
I'm
Three
glad you made
years,
a joke. I didn't.
$45.5 million to play safety, much faster than who they had been playing, which is both about Brisker and Byard. I love Byard, but there's a theme here. Then
Uh-huh.
linebacker Devin Bush, 3 year, $30 million, and I don't have the guarantees in front of me, but it's always about the guarantees. But it's really both those are 2 years guaranteed, so we'll see how they play, and then the Bears will go from there. They signed old buddy of Ben's, Khalif Raymond, kick returner, wide receiver for a year. He's basically replacing both Olamide Zaccheaus and Devin Duvernay for the returner. Right? I think that's his first name. Definitely Duvernay.
I
And
think so.
he's already like in his 30s, Raymond. So this is another thing that's not a long term, but hopefully get more out of him than they did those two guys, and kind of a 2-for-1 idea. Already knows the offense. Makes a ton of sense for 1 year, and
Yeah.
incentives would take it up to 5.1 million, but it's like a base 3 or whatever. Okay, so then they also added, I'm not going to do every little move, but just kind of the ones that I can see quickly here. Also, Neville Gallimore, something called Neville Gallimore.
So,
A 2 year deal for defensive line depth, D tackle. Corner safety Cam Lewis, another 2 year deal. He's going to be your super sub and probably be your dime guy. And Kyler Gordon insurance might be part of this
yeah,
factor.
smart.
I doubt they're planning to start him at safety, but they don't have another starting safety on the roster unless it's him. So look for that in the draft at some point. Defensive tackle James Lynch, 1 year deal, and then defensive end Contavious Street, another rotational piece. They re-signed / extended, depending, I guess, how you want to look at it. Braxton Jones is back to play left tackle, and hopefully he's got his legs back under him. Case Keenum returns to be the coach in the quarterback room. Daniel Hardy, Jalen Jones, Elijah Hicks are all back as backups and special teams guys. And Jordan McFadden, who got that spot start against the Rams, right? Was that the guy they played?
Yep.
And they moved Tooney over. He's back for O-line depth. So that's the free agent class, if you will. Departures are Byard, Brisker, Nahshon, as everyone thought. Like, hey man, all-time fun year by the guy.
Sure.
He was either making a crazy interception or getting totally toasted.
Yes.
It's just signing him would have been dumb. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the story. I'm glad he got some paper from the Jets. Will they still have no interceptions now that they have Nahshon Wright? Can they pull it off 2 years in a row? The Jets are a fascinating team. No,
that's a stunning stat, by the way.
It's just crazy to think a team could do this with a DB as
right,
their head coach,
right.
a former DB. Like what? So
like, not
he's
a goofy
Jets.
tip or
Brisker's,
anything.
Brisker's a Steeler. Byard went back to Mike Vrabel. And oh boy, I don't know if I want to touch that story. The Vrabel story. Oh my goodness.
That's a thing.
Zaccheaus signed with the fighting Ryan Paces. I mean the Falcons. And then the other big one besides DJ and the safeties are the big one. And then this one, Tremaine Edmonds signs with the Giants.
Yeah.
Another guy whose production just didn't match the contract.
I know.
He was off to a really good start, and then he stunk when he came back.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if he wasn't healthy.
Yeah. When they signed him, I was thrilled because he had some great tape from his Buffalo years, but yeah, it just never lived up to it. Yeah. And
so with all of that outlined, did the Bears get better?
They got faster.
They got faster, which is the best answer. Good job.
Is important. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
The defense was so slow. That's why the Lions just cooked them.
Yeah.
They're just running free like crazy because we just didn't have any speed back there.
Mm-hmm. Now, was that just the kind of players that Flus wanted versus, like, did he want, like, beefier guys in his defense as opposed to maybe smaller, faster guys that.
Can I ask this right back in a super insulting to Flus kind of way?
Yes.
Was he smart enough to have a plan?
You're right. I was assuming that he had a plan. I was.
No, they never made sense together, the GM and coach. And I'm going to say this till I die, probably because I'm stupid and I'm going to still be talking about the Bears at that point.
Yes.
They never got a three tech.
Right.
They tried once, and then they tried to draft one who has like no ability to get off when the ball is snapped. And he'd actually be good at everything else, but he can't do that. And they never really got speed in the defense that was supposed to be running a cover two, which Chicago fans know all about the importance of speed in the middle of a cover two.
Oh, yes, we do.
And then they signed Tremaine, which was kind of trying to at least find Urlacher light, but it just never really looked like there was a cohesive plan between the two of them. And then Ben came in, and you could see some of the footprints from him. And I think that's what makes this draft really interesting is almost everyone who covers the team says it's Ben's show.
Well,
And the
that's
early
good.
returns on his first draft were pretty darn good.
Yes, they were.
Let's do it again with lower or whatever, less draft capital.
Uh-huh.
But let's still do it again. You still got 2 seconds. Okay. I would agree with you. They have not gotten better. They have gotten faster. But the way I've been putting it in conversations with people like Cousin Nate
Cousin Nate.
and Cousin Nick
Cousin Nick, thanks for
and my
listening.
poor beleaguered wife who's like, why are we talking Bears in April?
Poor beleaguered wife.
Yes, now she's gonna. I gotta tell her she's a thing. They, the financial ramifications of last year haunt them this year, which is to
Okay.
say Dio and Grady Jarrett.
Mm.
So they were never going to get a great defensive line out of this whole thing unless they could trade for someone like Crosby. Therefore, the improvement for this Bears season has always been about year two in the offense for all those young, talented, now second and third year players.
Okay.
Look, they were not going to sign anybody to rush the QB that was going to make a bigger impact on this season than what Caleb Williams looks like in year two with Ben Johnson.
True. Yes.
They were not going to sign a run stuffing nose tackle with some pass rush ability good enough to be more important than what Loveland, Rome, and Burden do in year two with Ben Johnson. This is
Exactly.
not exciting as an offseason because it's like you're actually just waiting for progression from young players.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's fundamentally a great thing that that's actually where they're at. I don't know how much you played Madden. I know I played it entirely too much, and because of my cousins, I know many listeners are Madden enthusiasts in their younger years. Guys, this is a season where we're waiting for the end of the off season, and it gives you the progression where your young 85 becomes a now he's a 90, and you're like, oh, he's going to be good. You know, this is what we're doing. We are not revamping this entire roster because they don't have the money to do the D line to that degree, and that's they spent on a safety because it's not an expensive position. He's awfully good, by the way. I like Kobe Bryant a lot.
Yeah.
They spent on Devin Bush because he's fast as heck, and he had 2 good years with the Browns after he blew out his knee playing for Pittsburgh. He was a top 10 pick who
Yeah.
probably has a really nice career, but for that injury because he looks good again.
Hmm.
And then they played around on the margins. And next year is when they'll have some of the money freed back up. They've got major extensions to think about too.
Yes.
This is always about the growth of the offensive players already on the roster. And when do we ever get to say that with any confidence?
It's been a while. Like maybe decades.
Right. There is no path in this offseason to take that 27th D line ranking, whatever they were in all the pass rush metrics, and make it 12th.
Mm-hmm.
If they do a good enough job with some of these signings, play a little better, and Dio has a little bit better year, or whoever else marginally improves, and they get a nice draft pick in here somewhere, maybe they jump it up to 20th or 18th, and they're not just terrible, but they're thoroughly mediocre still. It was never going to become elite.
Right.
So they took a different approach, which is have a really good deep secondary so far, especially if they draft a safety in the first 3 picks. And that's what Seattle did. Seattle ran 6 defensive linemen at you who were all solid, but none of them are amazing. Like the
Mm.
Eagles, they did it with like the amazing ones.
Yeah.
And Seattle's like, we're going to do it with a bunch of guys who are pretty good. And then we're going to have an elite back end that we don't ever change out. So you try to dictate personnel, we're not going to bother matching it. Our big, fast guys in the secondary can cover everybody and they can
Hmm.
tackle everybody. And we're going to do our thing. And they won a Super Bowl. The league is constantly evolving.
Yes.
Teams are
Yes.
using 2 tight end sets, 12 personnel, and even 13 personnel with 3 tight ends at the highest rate ever.
Hmm.
They ran the ball for the first time in like 20 years at a 40% clip. So these are trends that smart teams are keeping up with and trying to get out in front of. And by the way, the Bears love them some 12 personnel, don't they?
Yes, they do. Got
So
2 good tight ends for it. Yeah.
in light of that, for the first time in a long time, I think we have to look at the draft without quite as much emphasis on what has been the standard positional values. And that brings me to the meat and potatoes of the rest of this episode.
Okay.
What the heck should the Bears do at pick 25?
Whew. Yeah, there's several ideas out there. I've heard different writers or talking heads talking about. It seems like defensive line is the consensus, whether it's a tackle who can, mess up the middle of the line or getting an edge. Those seem to be the 2 biggest things I hear. But then there's a contingent of left tackle. Got to get a good left tackle in there who can solidify that position for years to come, because you got the quarterback who's going to be here for another decade, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah, and left tackle, I'm glad you brought it up, because Braxton is a question mark with a baseline of a competent starter if he's healthy.
Yeah.
And they also signed, I forgot him, Jedrick Willis, who's a reclamation former first rounder with crazy weird injuries. I mean, it's probably a Hail Mary kind of move. Point is, it looks like they need a tackle in the wake of Ozzy Japillo's injury. And so I would not at all be surprised if the first round pick is a left tackle.
Okay.
And look, I know the history there for the Bears hasn't been great, but look, that's like the hardest position to fill in the sport now. I'm serious. I'm not saying it's more important than QB, but I think there are more good NFL quarterbacks right now than there are really good left tackles.
Oh, interesting.
Like, look at all the young ones lately that have had good years at QB.
Yeah.
And now try to do that with left tackle. You could say, oh, the bust potential is really high. Yeah, it is. But it's also like you're not getting one any other way but the draft.
Yeah, people or teams don't let good left tackles walk. That's right.
So if they want to keep swinging for that position, I'll totally understand it. Here's what I want them to do as much as anything. If the 2 things. The first thing is, if they could find their version of the Falcons. Remember when the Falcons traded back into the first round last year and gave up a first this year, which means the Rams now have the Rams already loaded, have 2 first-round picks?
Yes.
I can't believe the Falcons were that dumb. Find that team, trade out, and get a pick next year.
Who is in charge of the Falcons draft?
Well, Pace had something to do with it.
So, okay.
But their GM was even worse than him.
Okay.
He's gone now. Don't even start me on the whole Falcons in the draft.
Yeah, that's a thing too.
Big L for the league that could have been an easy W. Morons.
Yep.
And for the record, it could be like the Lions getting screwed out of this. And I'm like, what the heck is the league thinking? It's totally antithetical to the spirit of the rule.
Right.
It's totally antithetical. Anyway, find the team desperate to trade up and take their first next year, because next year's draft is considered by essentially everyone to be much better. I would do that because that'd be the best long-term play. But it takes 2 to tango, and who's anybody wanting to trade up for that desperately? I kind of doubt this is even remotely realistic in this draft. I would love it if they traded out of that pick.
Okay. Yeah, that's been another idea that I've heard kicked around as well. I guess you'd have to wait for someone who sees the guy they want who's picking like 27, 28 or something like that, and they just want
Like
to
the
make
Falcons
sure.
just had to come up last year, so
Right. Yeah, we got Buffalo, Niners, Texans right after the Bears. Those are all playoff teams, so hard to say, hard to gauge their interest in, unless there's a guy that they really, really like.
but the Falcons did it out of nowhere, so you just had to get lucky there. Probably unlikely.
Yeah.
Second thing I want is a little bit more complicated, but more likely. Pick the best available player minus a cloud of positions you don't have any need for. So everyone's like, it's need, it's best available. This debate every year. The actual answer should be, I'm convinced in this logic. You pick the best available, but not at spots that you know you're set for a long time. So it'd be totally stupid for the Bears to pick QB.
Yes.
It would probably be really stupid at the moment for them to pick a linebacker. That room has a lot of people that are experienced in it right now. Would it
Yep.
be totally stupid to pick a safety if the second best safety in the draft is sitting there at 25 versus the seventh best, let's say, edge rusher?
Yeah. I generally I don't like first round safety, but
Neither do I, but the
if
Ravens have made a killing by doing stuff like that over the
yeah,
years.
and you're far enough back in the first round, it's less of a
Right. I'd hate it in the top 10. There you pick
yeah,
the edge.
yeah,
But in my little scenario, it's like, okay, I can see why they picked the safety. He's a better player.
yeah, yeah.
What do they need the most? Obviously, defensive line and left tackle because of the injury.
Hmm.
Are you going to get the question then becomes, do you want the higher ranked player or the more valuable position? Like, do they need pass rush? Of course.
Yeah.
Is the end of the first round going to solve your pass rush?
No, it can be a
Could it
piece of it,
could
but
it
no,
solve your safety problem?
maybe. Yeah, that's a good
That's
point.
what I'm getting at. I was annoyed at the Mac trade and then Brisker because he's a box safety. But what if you get a ball hawk?
Yeah,
What if you pick a left tackle and he's like, yeah, he's a little raw, but he's fine. Where else you getting one? What if you pick an edge with the same logic? I don't know. Edge has a really high bust rate for these guys that have all the traits and they look the part and they got like 2 sacks. I can totally see them
true.
doing that because Dennis Allen has a type and all that stuff that gets old. I think if you're a good coach, make good players work.
Mm.
But point is, they have enough needs that you can justify various positions. And I'm just trying to warn everyone not to get locked into this idea that they've got to go D line because the D line there might not be that worthy of the first.
Mm.
And you might go, let's get this great safety and come back for this D line guy in the second because the difference between 25 and 57 for D line is a wash, but we're getting the second best ball hawk safety. You see what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't love the DNs in this class
Okay.
after the guys that are going to long be gone, of course. Like every
Yeah.
one of the ones that are talked about for the Bears, like Keldrick Falk. Okay, looks the part. He's going to be 21 the end of the summer. He's got plenty of growth. He sets the edge really well in the run game, and he had 2 sacks.
I mean,
Zion Young from Missouri, 7.5 sacks. That's better.
that is better.
Nowhere near as explosive an athlete. A lot of questions about whether this will actually translate at the NFL. Is he going to be too easy to block?
Mm.
It's like stuff like that to where it's like it's hard to be like that excited about any of them. And they do need it, of course. But the other problem here is I've heard this a lot in the podcast circuits. They need to invest in D line more. No, guys, they did. The problem is they did it poorly last year. Dio is getting big money.
Yeah.
Grady Jarrett is too. They're both gone next year. So if you want to draft one because you love him and the board falls a certain way, fine. But the fix of the D line is a next year thing. That you gotta have to guys. You gotta have to live with it. It is not getting fixed unless it grows internally. They did spend the resources and they can't get out of those deals right now, and they will get out of them next year. So would
That's
you
smart.
rather fix left tackle then? I would. I'm doubling down on Caleb and taking a swing there before I'm picking a mediocre or questionable edge prospect. Safety, man, I don't know. That's still hard for me to wrap my head around that, but I do think there's some studs in this draft class. but I'm like, but you're so much better at typically building the trenches. So that's where I landed. But like the idea that they'd keep just going offense, offense, offense with every first round pick might fit Ben pretty well, but at some point they need to balance that.
Yeah.
But again, they spent on the D line last year too. And everyone just acts like they didn't because they weren't good.
Right. There's nothing to
But
show
that's just
for
not
it.
reality. They did spend.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't go wrong by building around Caleb more either, or protecting him in this case with the left tackle. If they're not going to grab a wide receiver, certainly not a tight end, I don't think.
Tight end would be definitely in the cluster of hilarious positions. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a stud tight end that would be fun to have, but in that scenario, you're trading Komet
Yeah,
or
I don't
something.
want to do
I mean, they
that.
need to extend some guys to sign the draft class. He's a perfect extension candidate,
Mm-hmm.
where you clear space. Tight end would be a shocker. Linebacker would be shocking. Wide receiver with the one would be pretty surprising. Wide receiver with one of the twos or the three would not
I could
surprise
see
me.
that. Yeah, I could see that.
But with the one, I'd be pretty surprised.
Mm.
Linebacker, I mentioned. Corner is an interesting one because you could see the board going a certain way where the best player is a corner and them going, we don't really like Tyreek Stevenson and we're
Mm.
not sure if Jalen is still recovering. Is he ever going to be the same
Yeah,
again? I mean, you can definitely
yeah,
talk me into how they need a corner.
yeah, absolutely. One thing I hope they don't do is draft a tackle, like draft a right tackle, and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
"Oh, we can move what's his name to left tackle instead." Or you know what I mean? I don't do that.
Yeah, leave your all pro,
Yes,
the
right.
guy on the trajectory to get there on the side he's good at.
Leave right on right. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Because that.
And we did pick up his 5th-year option. The
Mm-hmm.
extension for him is coming. There's no way they're gonna
Yeah.
let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't mess with him. So yeah, I'm with you there. And they did that last year with Trapillo, frankly, where they picked a guy who's got way more experience on the right side, and it took him a while to convert.
Yeah, that
And I
wasn't a
just
first though, so that's
yeah, that helps
yeah.
for sure. But I mean, at the same time, the best news of all, and burying the lead in some ways, is in Ben we trust, right? The guy is smart.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
involved in all of this
Mm-hmm.
and he knows basically what he's doing, even though he's a young second-year coach. If he says, yeah, this guy could play meaner, but look at the footwork, and my O-line coach loves his technique and will put the mean into him,
Mm.
this left tackle is going to be good. Okay, do it.
Yep, works for me.
And don't trade up. Don't trade up. None of these
No,
guys
no, no,
strike
no,
me
no.
as like, oh, we better trade up, get our guy. I don't want you to use that kind of capital in this draft. It's just not,
No.
it's like this draft, according to almost everyone, is like very much 15 to 50 are the same tier of player,
Mm.
which is really wild. And the best players are a running back, a safety, and a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
So you're back to like, well, that's some weird positional value.
Indeed.
But as far as do I have a guy? Not really, because I don't think any of them are shoo-ins. Like there's even like left tackle, okay, this guy's got that problem. That guy has this other problem. All the edge rushers by 25 are not perfect prospects or they're not available at 25. Again, we have to wrap our heads around the fact that we are picking it at a spot we are not used to picking.
Very new, very new. Well, we will be sure to get back to you after the draft and talk about some of the new Bears. If there's any big splashes, maybe we can jump on after the first or second round, something like that, and discuss. It's an exciting time in the draft. It's a little different this time since we've got so many key pieces and key pieces in place for the near future. Also, there's should be some news coming about the stadium. There's a big vote in Illinois coming up soon, so we should know more about where the Bears' future home will be, and we'll be sure to talk about that once we know more as well. Thanks so much for listening and for understanding our bit of an absence here, but glad to be chatting Bears with you again. Find us on all the socials at bearly_educated. You can email us at bearlyeducatedpod@gmail.com. Check out our Buy Me a Coffee, which is buymeacoffee.com/barely_educated. If you join our honor roll for $3 a month, we'll send you a Barely Educated t-shirt. which you can show off to your friends and loved ones. Alright, until we talk again, bear down, my friends.
Where have you been?
I've been busy.
Cluster floose.
The Bears.
The Bears!
I love the Bears.